Just remember this: when the oceans die and the lands burn, when the reservoirs become craters, when the forests exist only in photographs, when billions go hungry, when billions go thirsty, when the future arrives asking what happened, tell them we were successful. Tell them the targets were met. Tell them the growth exceeded expectations. Tell them the quarterly numbers were strong. Tell them at least the shareholders won. At least the numbers went up. At least the graph kept climbing while the world was turning to dust. At least the forecasts looked good. At least the targets were met. At least the analysts smiled and the markets never broke a sweat. We traded tomorrow away for a bonus paid today. We sold the spring to buy the bottle, then congratulated ourselves all the way. At least the shareholders won. At least the quarterly call went fine. The oceans couldn't make a profit, so the balance sheet looked divine. At least the shareholders won. What a beautiful thing to say as the future disappeared beneath us. One profitable day. At least productivity improved. At least their costs came down. At least the last old forest fell before it slowed the town. At least the spreadsheets balanced out. At least the metrics stayed green. We measured every grain of sand except what those numbers mean. We traded profits for profits, warnings for market share. The people pointing toward the cliff were told they shouldn't scare. At least the shareholders won. At least the growth remained on track. We burned the bridge to reach the future, then wondered why it wouldn't come back. At least the shareholders won. At least the chart became a shrine. We fed tomorrow to the furnace, one profitable day at a time. At least the shareholders won. At least the numbers went up while the sky turned strange above us and the rivers filled with dust. At least the shareholders won. What a beautiful thing to say, while the bill kept growing larger. One profitable day. At least the shareholders won. What a beautiful thing to say, when the rivers stopped running and the harvest slipped away. At least the shareholders won. What a beautiful thing to say, when the wells ran dry in summer, when the fish no longer came, when the children asked us why, nobody could explain. At least the shareholders won. What a beautiful thing to say. What a beautiful thing to